Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. 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 Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. गुरुदेव नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत श्रीमती श्रीवायंकरी शेषी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की, इस्कॉन संस्थापक आचार्य शिल प्रभुपाद की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की, नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की, ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, मायापुर नवदीप धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा में यमुना मैया की, भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की, समवेत भक्तवृंद की, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, ताय गौर प्रेमानंदी। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories. Shiva and Shiva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire Nashtaprayeshva Badresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, text number 15, chapter entitled Lord in the Heart. Sthiram Sukam Cha Asanam Astita Yati Yada Jyasu Imam Anga Lokam Kale Cha Deshe Cha Mana Na Sajjaye Pranan Niyache Manasa Jita Asu. Whoever can follow, can follow. I don't think there's a board here. It's chapter 2, text number 15, Canto 2. Sthiram sukam chasanam astito yati yada jyasurim mangalokam Kale cha deshe cha mano na sajje Pranan yachen manasa jitaso Sthiram sukham chasanam astito yati Yada jyasu imam mangalokam Kale cha deshe cha mano na sajjaye Pranan chen manasa jitaso sthiram sukam chasanam astito yati yada jyasurima mangaloka काले च देशे च मनो न सज्जये प्राणान्यच्छेन् मनसा जितासो स्थिरं सुखं चासनमास्थितो यते यदा ज्यासूरिममङ्गलोकम् काले च देशे च मनो न सज्जये चिरं सुखं चासनमास्थितो यते यदा ज्यासुरिममङ्गलोकम् काले च देशे च मनो न सज्जये प्राणान्यच्छेन् मनसा जितासो स्थिरं सुखं चासनमास्थितो यते यदा ज्यासुरिममङ्गलोकम् काले च देशे च मनो न सज्जये प्राणान्यच्छेन् मनसा जितासो. Will Mataji like to try? Sthiram sukam chasanam astito yatir yada jyasurimamangalokamam kale jadeshe chamano na sajjaye prananyacchen manasa jitaso Sthiram sukam chasanam astito yate yada jyasurimamangalokamam Alena deshe cha mano na sajjaye Prananyacchen manasa jitaso Sthiram without being disturbed Sukam comfortable Cha also Asanam sitting accommodation Astitah being situated Yati the sage Yada whenever Jihasu desires to give up Imam this Anga O king Lokam this body Kale in time Cha and Deshe in a proper place Cha also Manaha the mind Na not Sajjaye may not be perplexed Pranan the senses Niyache must control Manasa by the mind Jita asu conquering the life air. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. O King, whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed, and regulating the life air should control the senses by the mind. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text number 14, it is clearly stated that a person who is totally engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord and who constantly remembers Him at every step easily obtains the mercy of the Lord by entering into His personal contact. Such devotees do not need to seek an opportune moment to leave the present body, but those who are mixed devotees, alloyed with futile action or empirical philosophical speculation, require an opportune moment for quitting this body. For them, the opportune moments are stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse number 23 to 26. But these opportune moments are not as important as one's being a successful yogi who is able to quit his body as he likes. Such a yogi must be competent to control his senses by the mind. The mind is easily conquered simply by engaging it at the lotus feet of the Lord. Gradually, by such service, all the senses become automatically engaged in the service of the Lord. That is the way of merging into the Supreme Absolute. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dasi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation once again. O King, whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about a proper time or place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed, and regulating the life air should control the senses by the mind. So, Parishit Maharaj, he asked Shukdev Goswami as to what should be the goal of one's existence. And then afterwards, Shukdev Goswami, he just mentions, what should be done, and slowly and steadily he brings him ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. So at the present moment, Shukdev Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj how one should try to see the Lord within the heart. So this chapter is entitled Lord in the Heart. So if we look at things here, and considering this, that we are in the age of Kali Yuga, it's very difficult for one to really practice yogic standards. Tapasya for some time also is very difficult. If you are told to stand with one leg, on one leg, with hands up, except somebody who has practiced for some time may do it, but otherwise you may just fall down. Or fall down is actual fall down, or very difficult, right? We may think of only eating once in a day on the Chaturmasya, and then when you see something very attractive, we may fall into that and eat. Tapasya is difficult in this Kali Yuga. Once His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj was mentioning, he was traveling with someone in the car, and that person was a yogi. He would do so many asanas, and then he was telling him that one should do this for this particular purpose, you should do this, for this you have to do this asana, for this asana. So he was listen. And suddenly the vehicle came to a point where it's about to fall off the cliff. So then Radha Maharaj said, which asana will you do now? Because what asana will help you at this time when you know that you are going to fall off and may leave your body? So difficult, right? So, of course, he just was telling in a lighter mode, but then the message was sent across that how in this age is so difficult, right? So that's why if you see Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he never mentions anything about the different yogic standards. He just is mentioning directly that he says such a yogi must be competent to control his mind, senses by the mind. So he mentions everything, but Srila Prabhupada ultimately comes to the point of how do you control the senses by the mind. Of course, mind itself is very difficult to control. Mind is such a thing, like right now we are here and we can go to America. All of you can go to sleep within 1 hour's time. You can go to America, you can go to maybe Mars, you can go to moon, planet and come back also after 1 hour. Wherever you want, you can go. You don't have to, there's no restriction for that, right? Whatever you want to eat, just meditate on that, you can eat. You can enjoy everything. You can fantasize to whatever extent that one would like to. No restrictions at all. The mind is like that. It can take you, it can travel long distances in a fraction of a second. You want to be in America, you can be in Los Angeles right now. Materially, if you want to, then you have to have so many things. You have to have a visa. Now, visa is also difficult for America. But saying having a visa, then travel 14 hours, jet lag. But here, just in the mind, you can just go and be there. Similarly, mind, is as somebody would say that it's like a monkey. Monkey, if you see, the monkey cannot sit at one place. At one moment it will be here, second moment it will be somewhere else, on some other. You just look at a monkey. The place where I stay, there is this national park just behind, and the monkeys sometimes come, So jump from one to another, And place where I buy the fruits from, there's a tree on top, and the monkeys always try to, pick the bananas. And there's this boy who also likes to play with the monkey. He also jumps with the monkey. He also climbs the tree with the monkey. So he also enjoys. But the point here, what I'm trying to say, that monkey, if you see the monkey cannot sit at one place. Jump from one to another, one to here, there. Even if he has to eat also, he'll just eat something, then leave, take something, So that's what happens in Vrindavan. So you have to be alert. If you're not alert, then your specs will be taken away. They'll take anything that you have and go up on the tree. Earlier times, you give them bananas and they would just take the banana and leave the other things. Now they want fruity, it seems, in Vrindavan. And now they want two fruities. Because they like to drink fruity now. Only when you get fruity, then or sometimes you may not get also. They may take yours fruity, they'll take your belonging, and they will go up also higher. But point here is that the mind is like that. Mind is that. One moment it's here, the other moment somewhere else. All of us who are sitting for japa will experience that. The moment you sit for japa, mind बोलता है अभी चलो जाएंगे घूमने को. और आप भी जाते हो. We have this pantomime show. उसमें बराबर डिपिक्ट होता है कि me and mind. So the person wants something, but the mind is saying, no, let's do this. Let's do something else. At every moment of time, Okay, mind says, okay, let's go and fantasize this. The moment you are there, then mind says, no, let's go and fantasize something else. Let's go here, let's go there. So mind always is just moving around. That's why Arjun in the Bhagavad Gita, he mentions, Chanchalamai mana Krishna, pramate balavadridam. Very difficult, my dear Lord Krishna, you are saying that I should control the mind. Very difficult for me to control the mind. He says, just difficult. I am able to control the wind. That Arjun says. Arjun is able to control the wind. We cannot even control the wind also. So Arjun says, I can control the wind. But to control the mind is very difficult. Very, very difficult. This is what actually Arjun presents this proposal in front of Krishna. Ki chanchalami mana Krishna pramate balavadrem tasyam nigrama manne vavir evasa duskaram. So we all know from the stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam how that when our senses come in contact with anything outside in this material world, the mind gets connected to that and then makes you go after that. We have a very nice example of Ajamil. Ajamil had been practicing these principles, spiritual practices right from the childhood. But just one, glance at an act performed by a prostitute with another person agitated his senses. It agitated his senses so much that he wanted to have her. And so much that he actually left his family, his parents, he just rejected them. He just threw out his wife from the house and then got this prostitute home and then lived with her. This is what happens. So, one of the devotees was mentioning that one act can just agitate one's mind and senses so much. And in this age of Kali Yuga, every moment we have this. Every moment our mind is been dragged to enjoy this lusty, greed, anger, like that. When I was in the college, that time, this was at CST, and there are some 2-3 theaters there. And sometimes those adult films will come, and then because you are 18, you feel like, okay, you can go there and you want to go and see. But In that, just a little boy having a small physical contact, little is enough. That's all. That is adults movie. But now, you know, everywhere you see that. The films, they are not made without all these things. What to speak of, like, when a child sees the mobile also, he is just has access to all these things. So you can imagine what can be the state of our consciousness when you are exposed to these such things, and your mind becomes bewildered. And when something happens, then we just think, oh, why this happened? It's happened because everywhere around it's like this. It's going on. Ajamil just had one scene and he got completely bewildered. What to speak of us? We have a very glaring example of Vishwamitra also. Like, when you're talking about meditation, he was a person who was doing tapasya very strictly, right? For months and years. But just one tinkling of the ankle bells of Menaka disturbed his meditation. Right? Just imagine, years and years of tapasya, and then suddenly one tinkling of ankle bell, that's all. And then his meditation was disturbed. So much so that he, of course, Indra sent her to disturb his meditation, but just see, he was not looking at her also, but just hearing the ankle bells, the tinkling of the ankle bells, and then, in Ajamal's case, it was just watching, but here, like, he was just hearing, and the tinkling of the ankle bells just agitated his mind. So much so that he had a physical contact with Menaka. Right? We are talking about anger, whatever, Hiranyakashipu did tapasya for so many. He knew all the principles, how to do yogic practices, everything. But when it came to controlling anger, he was not able to do that. He was not able to control the anger. Even Ravana may have tapasya and then may have achieved so many things in his life, the fruits of those tapasyas, but then ultimately, getting carried away by lust. All this is because of the activity of the mind. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this story of Avanti Brahman. All of us may be aware about this. He was a very rich man, had a lot of things for him to enjoy. But as would be, just to cut the story short, but as would be that, he lost everything. This is what happens in this world actually. You can't be sure about, that you can hold on to all those that you have. A sudden turn of event, destiny, and then it so happens that you may just lose everything. So Avanti Brahmin, he lost everything. And when he lost everything, the people who were with him because of his fame, name, as one devotee was mentioning, that people in this world always want to be connected with someone who is very famous, who is rich, who is influential. So he had a lot of friends like that, so-called friends, but when he lost everything, he just, lost all those connections. The relatives left him, the friends left him, and people who were envious of him, they started even accusing him, abuses, verbal abuses, physically abusing, throwing stones at him, because he had nothing now. And when nothing, he can't do anything to them. And whoever wanted to take advantage, they just took advantage of him. People started throwing stones at him. We started laughing at them. So that time, he just remembered the Lord. And then he was saying that Naham jano me sukha dukkha hetur na devatma griha karma kala. He says that, these people who are troubling me, that is not a cause of my happiness or distress. Na devatma graha karma kala. Neither all these living entities, nor the devas, nor the grahas, the planets. Sometimes you may say, okay, planets ki wajah se, karma because of some activities, or time factor because of time factor. बोलता नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं. Nothing is causing me this happiness or distress in this world. What is that which is causing me happiness or distress? It says mana parama karanam. It says mana parama karanam atmanam sansara chakram parivartaret. Yes. Sansara chakra, we are being perpetually thrown into this cycle of birth and death because of the mana. It says mana karanam, param karanam. The most important cause is this mind, which is bringing us and perpetuating into this cycle of birth and death. So Srila Prabhupada, in this particular purport, he mentions that, the mind, he actually actuates the activities of this material world, and then we get completely entangled in these three modes of mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. And because of which we are continuously taking birth, leaving the body, birth and death, cycle of birth and death. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that, all the reason is the mind. So he comes to that conclusion, Avanti Brahman. He says, Manahi Paramakarana. Nothing else. Everything else may be there, but they may be secondary, but Mana is most important thing, the mind. So we are talking about it, we can understand how much difficult it is to control our mind. Even it seems the great personalities, the great rulers, they may have a lot of strength, they may have power, influence, everything, but sometimes the mind may get haywire, go haywire, and then they may fall into a trap. So this can lead to a disaster. Elsewhere in one place, Srila Prabhupada mentions inattentiveness, or if you're not focused on what you're supposed to do in your life, if you're not focused on the actual goal, then you can commit certain mistakes, or you may get entangled into something from which you cannot come out of it also, even though you are a devotee. We don't, when we talk about anything, it's mind means it applies to every one of us. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a story of, deliverance of Gopinath Patanaika. Why this is relevant for all of us? Because this is an example where the person is a pakka devotee. But how, because of, getting attracted to something and being inattentive, you can create so much of issues. This comes in the Antya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the story goes like this, that some devotees, they rush to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, please, help us. He says, Gopinath Patanaika is being now put on a changa, means he is going to be put on a changa, and please save him. So what is changa? Is nothing but a process of hanging a person. So during that time, changa means a person is just lifted. There is a platform below, wooden platform. Under the wooden platform, there are very sharp swords. So when the person is to be killed, the wooden board is taken away, person is thrown from top, he just falls on those swords and he leaves his body. That's how he's killed. He says, Gopinath Patanaika has been put on the changa. Please save him. And then they also connect him with his father. His father is Bhavananda Rai. And in the purport mentions how Bhavananda is none other than Pandu, and his 5 sons are none other than the Pandavas. They are the Pandavas. And so Gopinath Patanaika is one of the 5 Pandavas. His brother is Vaninath Rai and Ramanand Rai. So there are 5 brothers, And Gopinath Patnaik is one of them, and he is a treasurer in the king's kingdom, Pratapruddha Maharaj's kingdom. And he said that Gopinath Patnaik over a period of time is siphoned off 200,000 kahanas. उस समय का कहानास में अभी का एक 2 crore rupees, if you think about it. Because he was in treasury, just imagine, he is a devotee. He is chanting. But because he was in the treasury, he siphoned off 200,000 kahanas. He got carried away. When you have excess money or you have access to excess money, then your mind gets bewildered. You don't know what to do. Like just recently I was told that at the Ulve airport, they are making a big airport there. And they bought a lot of land from the local villagers. So each one got a lot of money. It's सब लोग करोड़पति बन गए overnight. And they did not know what to do with their money because they are not used to that much of money. Each one has got a Fortuner, it seems. The costliest. And what do? They drink and drink the whole day, nothing. They only drink. Because you don't know what to do with it. No, you have so much of money. कितना क्या करेंगे आप? बाई क्या फॉर और क्या बाई करेंगे? बड़ा घर ले और क्या करेंगे? You know? And they know they have past habits of drinking, so they drink. So they started drinking more. Even they share with their friends also, still there's so much of money is left. This is what happens. The mind gets completely bewildered when you have so much of wealth, fame, position. So, Gopinath Patnaik squandered away, siphoned off about 200,000 kahanas. And slowly that happened. After some years, this matter reached the king. And the king said, okay, where is the money? Give me back my money. So he didn't have the money. All that money has been used. किधर बैंक पे रखता तो कम से कम इंटरेस्ट मिलता था, वापस मुद्दल दे सकते थे, principal amount. But still, he did not have that money. He just siphoned off. Now this is one aspect of the mind getting bewildered. Just see the another aspect. Maharaj Pratap sent his son. He just had a proposal. He said, I don't have money, but I have nice horses. And if you take those horses, I'll get some money out of it, and then whatever extra money is there, I will just pay off that. He says, fine. But King Pratapruddha did not know the price of the horses and everything. Like you tell me to ask me what is the price of Fortuner, I don't really know even now, because I don't know, I am not into that field. So, but that point is, he sent his son who is very expert in knowing the price of the horses. Like recently, I was just traveling with someone and he was traveling in a nice big car. I don't know what, Tata Nexon or something. I just asked him how much is the cost. I just asked him only one question. What is the cost of this car? He told me the cost of all the latest cars. Latest models, how much it costs also. So in case you want to buy, I said I'll talk to you and then I'll buy. So like that. So this person knew the prices of the horses. He said just go and deal with him. So this person quoted a very stupid price. Like something is costing 1 lakh rupees, he said 5,000 rupees. Ab socho kaise hai na, you take gold to sell and then if it's worth 1 lakh and you are given only 5,000, how will you feel? So King Pratap's son Purushottam Jana quoted a very ridiculous price for those horses. Now this agitated Gopinath Patnaik so much that Prince had a particular habit of talking like this. His head would turn up on the sky. So this person got so agitated, he said that at least my horses don't do like you do. So my horses deserve a better price. Now just imagine, his ego was hurt. His character, his nature was attacked. And this person became so envious or so angry, he became revengeful, Purushottam Jana, when he was told that, my horses don't do like what you do. So one thing we learn here is, if you have to address the issue, not address a person's character. And say that you are like this. Because that you cannot change, na? So somebody you just try to imitate or you just try to make fun of it, the person will feel bad. And what to speak of Purushottam who is a prince. He's in a position, he can do anything. So he made false accusations against Gopinath Pattanaka, complained to the king. He said that, this person is not giving. Some false allegation. Maharaj, we will put him on the changa. कभी ऐसा बोल देता ना हम लोग कि इसको सूली पे चढ़ा देना चाहिए. You don't actually do it. So King Pratap did not even consider it to be so serious. He said, whatever is necessary you do, just get the money back. He actually put him on the changa. Now just imagine, this particular story becomes very interesting afterwards. To cut the story short, this actually put on the changa. Then another devotee comes and again puts his proposal in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I am a sannyasi, why are you talking about all this to me? I cannot repay the money to him. And what did he do? When they said he did like this, he says, it is right. The king has to be given his money. How can the king not get back his money? He should. And then he made a very important statement. He said, this Gopinath Pattanaka, he has squandered of all the money to watch dancing girls. Can you imagine that statement made by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about Gopinath Pattanaka, saying that dancing girls, means during that time also somebody could go and see dancing girls. I am telling you what can happen when you have so much of money. Your mind will become completely bewildered. You don't know how to control your mind. Right? He says he is going and seeing dancing girls, squander all that money. He says he has to repay the money. Don't tell me. He says, if you trouble me again, I am going to Alarnath. I am just going to leave Jagannath Puri and go. And when the matter reached Prataprudra, he said, I did not want to put on Changa. I want my money back. That's all, nothing else. I didn't want anything. I didn't want him to be killed. And then he said, I don't want Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to leave this place also. So what he did is he just absolved him of all his debt. He removed him from he just released him from the jail. And then he doubled his salary also. But see, because he accused Purushottam Jana, that's prince, the prince even arrested Vaninath Rai, was another brother of Gopinath Pattanaka. He was also in the treasury, but he was also put into, because he was connected with him. So Chaitanya asked, he said, what was Vaninath Rai doing while he was in the prison? He says, Vaninath Rai was chanting the holy names of the Lord when he was in the prison. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he heard this, he was happy. And when this news reached, as I said, Prataprudra released Gopinath Pattanaka, and both of them went with their father, Bhavanand Rai, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that time, Gopinath Pattanaka made a very important statement. He said that people may think that I got a special mercy. हम स्पेशल मर्सी किसको बोलते हैं अपने दुनिया में? अरे आज पगार मेरा बढ़ गया, आज मर्सी हो गया, भगवान का मर्सी. हाँ, या आज लॉटरी लग गई, कृष्णास मर्सी. तो उनका तो डबल हो गया ना, अभी सैलरी डबल हो गया, ऊपर से 202 crores of rupees also is absorbed out. So he said, this is not the mercy which I got. People may think that this is the mercy I received. What I want is that mercy which my brother has, Vaninath Rai. That dependence on the holy name of the Lord. He was not agitated. Vaninath Rai was not agitated when he was pushed. नहीं तो otherwise बोलते थे मुझे क्यों डाल रहे हो आप अंदर? I didn't do anything. Why did you do it? Or sometimes you say, oh no, he's not my brother. I have nothing to do with him. The first instance we just try to just make ourselves very safe. No, I don't know him. Or why are you putting me? Vanidhara did not do anything. He was just chanting the holy names. He says, this is what I want. This is not a mercy that I want, my dear. This is what I want. But he learned a hard way. So much of things. Anyway, this story has a lot of things to, this particular chapter has a lot of things for us to learn about. But just this particular, story makes us understand that how a little inattention, or if you're not very focused and if your mind is not, trying to just be focused on a particular aspect of a life, then you may get distracted. That's why when Chanchala Mana Krishna, when Krishna spoke about this, when Arjun said that, my dear Lord, it's very difficult for me to control mind. Krishna said, nahi, aisa nahi re, aisa nahi bola. Krishna says, yes, asam shayam mahabhavo. He says, mahabhavo, you are a great person. Yes, without doubt, you are right. Dur nigriham chalam. He says that, it is very difficult. I accept it. Very right. It's very difficult. But he says, abhyasena tu kauntaya. He says, just by doing abhyas and vairagya, then you can achieve that. So it's not that, it's easy, but at the same time, it's not difficult also. One has to do the abhyas. Because the mind always is attached to something which has already been doing it, habituated. Right? Maybe because of past life or in a previous whatever we have. So when we do something, we are habituated to a particular thing. And if it's not good for us, then we should try to do abhyas. Abhyas to get detached. And then afterwards, that's vairagya and abhyas, prayas. Right? So Srila Prabhupada in that purport he mentions what is actually, how do you become detached? So Srila Prabhupada says you become detached by becoming attached to something. Param drishtva nivartate. If a beggar gets, dry chapati every day, you tell that person, please don't eat dry chapati. He says, kya karo aur kya karo? But every day if you give him nice parathas with ghee on it, chole bhature you give him every day, will he not leave that dry chapati? He'll leave easily. Because he's getting those, higher chole bhature. So he is getting something higher taste. So when you get higher taste, then you leave aside a lower taste. So param drishtva nivartate sarvapadi nirmuktam tat paratvena nemalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchite. So Lord is a master of senses. He is called as Rishikesh. So it is said that Rishikena rishikesha. When you engage our senses and mind in the service of the Lord, then you become safe. Maharaj Amrish, Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo, he said that, he would engage his mind just remembering the Lord. He would use his feet for going towards the temple of the Lord. He uses his hands for wiping the temple floor of the Lord and serving. He uses his eyes for having the wonderful darshan of the Lord, smell the wonderful incense that has been offered to the Lord. So all the senses he used in the Lord's service. So when we use that in the Lord's service in this way, then slowly detaching ourselves from the things of this material also will be easier. But we need to do abhyas also. Its prayas is there. Because all the old habits will not die easily. It just takes time for us to do that. But that abhyas is what is sadhana for us. When we are talking about sadhana, it's not just, we are trying to do things which are not favorable. So we try to do things favorable and not do things which are unfavorable. So anything which is unfavorable for us, we just try to somehow or the other keep away from that and try to get into positive acts which will help us to come closer to Krishna. So this is what the Shastras are talking about. When we engage our mind and our senses in anything that is connected to the Lord and His devotees and services, then we are safe. you know, just like His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj was telling me, he was at the time chanting. And then he told that yogi, he said, what asana will do you now? When he did not answer, he says, this is what one should do. Take shelter of the holy names. When you take shelter of holy names, your mind will become completely stable and sound. And we have a glaring example of Srila Haridas Thakur, right? Srila Haridas Thakur was staying in Benapole. And that was a place which was ruled by Ramchandra Khan. Because of Haridas Thakur's wonderful character, his nature, and because of his complete dependence on the holy name, he was attracting many souls towards him and he was becoming famous. And this Ramchandra Khan was not ready to accept this. Ramchandra Khan, he wanted to somehow or other defame Haridas Thakur. He was not able to do that. Tried many things. Ultimately, he got a prostitute. One of the best prostitutes of that town, who can bewilder anyone by her approaches. And that particular prostitute was selected personally by Ramchandra Khan and said, I'm sending my person with you, and as soon as he engages with you in some immoral activity, my person will come and catch him, and then we'll just throw him out of this place or somehow punish him. She was so confident, she said, don't worry, first let me go, and after I have won him over, then you can send him to me, to that place. The first night when she went, she said, I'm so and so, I want to enjoy you, such a nice moonlit night, and me and you you can imagine, if she has to entice someone, she might have done everything possible to, and no one around. Huh? Just imagine that. And Haridas Thakur, what did he do? He said, yeah, I would definitely like to please you, but I have some rounds left. I have taken a vow of chanting 3 lakh names every day, and I have still some round left. Will you please sit there and just let me finish this, and then afterwards I'll enjoy. And in front of Tulsi, Haridas Thakur chanting. Prostitute is listening, and it became daylight. He said, I'm so sorry, I could not do that, but next time when you come, I'll surely. So Ramchandra Khan was waiting, thinking that now, ho gaya, prostitute has done her job. Then no, give me one more day. Today he has promised that he'll do it. Next day again, she was hearing, and Ramchandra Khan, Haridas Thakur was chanting the holy names. And as he was chanting, again, she got a little more attracted because she was alert. She was trying to wait for that moment when he'll stop chanting. And so she was hearing. And in front of Tulsi, chanting, so powerful. When you chant, and that too in front of Tulsi, very powerful. So she was sitting in front of the Tulsi, she was hearing the holy names, and she was just, can you imagine, she was not there sitting. She might have tried to use different tactics to attract Haridas Thakur. But again that day, whole night went away, and as she was leaving, she said, I'm sorry, I just could not finish my rounds, but today I'll surely do it. And then that night when she came, her heart got completely transformed. Heart got fully transformed. So much so that she also started chanting. She offered her obeisances to Haridas Thakur and then revealed why this was done. Ramchandra employed me to some or the other bewilder you and then catch you. So Haridas Thakur said, I knew about it. The first day when you came, I knew about that this is what Ramchandra's activity is. I knew that he will do this activity. But I just wanted to give you this mercy of the holy name, That's why I just allowed you to come. And then he said, what should I do? He says, just leave everything, come here and take shelter of the holy names. And she did that, and then she shaved off her head, she came here, surrendered her life to Ram Haridas Thakur, and she also started chanting the holy names. And then ultimately from there, Haridas Thakur went away from that place, but transformed her heart by just the power of the holy name. What did Srila Prabhupada do when he went to the West? He just had the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 3 volumes. That's all. Old man at the age of 70, having 2 heart attacks in the ship, going there, didn't know where to stay, who will give him shelter, what will he do, how will he preach. So in New York, there's a place called Tompkins Square Park. It's a nice place. It's like a big park, but underneath a tree, Srila Prabhupada would sit and chant the holy names. And slowly people would just come around. Somebody would accompany him in the music, get some instruments. Slowly people would just, get attracted to the holy name. And then call them to the place where he would be giving a lecture at 26th Avenue. And just on the strength of the holy name, he just converted those hippies into happies. People who are breaking all the 4 regular principles, they started chanting. Isn't it a miracle? It's actually a miracle, right? Tell them no illicit sex, no gambling. नहीं कर पाते थे उन लोग, right? They have been right from the childhood. They have been in that environment, and you tell them not to do this. It's like going against the culture. But still, Srila Prabhupada's faith in the holy name made them completely leave, and take shelter of the holy name. Not only that, scriptures. If they recite some story from Ramayana, they'll be able to give much more better than us. But the point here, what I'm trying to say, that how their hearts became purified by just taking shelter of the holy name. And obviously, the sadhana aspect cannot be ignored. The prayas, as Krishna mentions, abhyas and vairagya. That vairagya comes by attachment to the positive, that is the holy name. So here, Srila Prabhupada mentions here, right? He says the mind is easily conquered simply by engaging it at the lotus feet of the Lord. Gradually, by such service, all the senses automatically become engaged in the Lord. This is the way of merging into the Supreme Absolute. So when you're talking merging means what? The consciousness. When I chant the holy names of Lord, I directly come in contact with the Lord, because Lord's name and Lord is non-different. They are abhinna, abhinatva nam namino. Nama chintamani is Krishna, Chaitanya rasa vigraha, purna shuddha nitya mukta. This nam chintamani, it is purna shuddha nitya mukta, and it is non-different. Abhinatva nama namino. So when we are talking about it, on one hand, we have what is called as the yogic practices, but those practices are very difficult for us to follow in this age of Kali Yuga especially. Very difficult. Even if somebody does for some time, we consider him to be very great. But there are people in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam who have done for months and years, and they have been not able to. Like Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says, Pantastu koti shatvatsara sampragame vayo rathapi manasomani pungavanam sopyasya prapadasimna vichinta tatve govinda madhi purusham. He says yogis practicing, but they are able to just get a glimpse of the toe of the Lord. They may be able to get a glimpse of the toe of the Lord. And here, by the practice of Bhakti Yoga. That means engaging one's senses in the senses of the Lord, the way the Lord wants us to be served. Then what happens is that we get a direct audience with the Lord. Merging with the Lord means having a direct audience with the Lord. You can actually feel the presence of the Lord. You can actually feel Shri Radha Gopinath reciprocating with you, what you are doing. Yesterday only one person came to me and we were discussing about certain issue, and somebody behaved very wrongly with that person. And she was saying that every time I pray that I should not get pride in my heart. She says, Lord answered my prayers. And when somebody behaved like this, my pride was completely destroyed. And I realized. Then I said, now is this that you have come to complain or you are grateful for that person? Huh? If you have come to complain, then you lose the point. Because Krishna is trying to somehow or other make you humble. But if you are thinking that it's Krishna's mercy that, I had this pride and then this thing happened and I became completely humble, so then actually you will fall at that person's feet. Thank you. You have taught me something. So Krishna reciprocates. Isn't it reciprocating? It's not necessary that Krishna should come in front of you and say, okay, I am here in front of you. No. When you say like this, you actually understand that Krishna is reciprocating. And it is going to happen with every one of us. Just think about it. Many instances may be there in your life where you had said something and then, if you have done it out of pride, if you have done an act out of pride, if you have said something out of pride, then be assured that round the corner there's something awaiting to make you humble. And you should be courageous enough to accept that it is Krishna's mercy. Unfortunately, what we do, we just have a blame game. But if I just humble and accept that, oh yeah, I know this is what has happened because I prayed like this. That's why one devotee said that when you come in front of Lord, don't be so bindas and say that, purify me. Krishna will take it very seriously and purify you. ऐसे लाइफ में आ जाएंगे ना, ऐसा लगेगा कि बाबा नहीं चाहिए और. He said, but have another second prayer. He says, do anything to purify. If you have that strength to ask the Lord. Second, also tell that, please let me also understand it is your mercy. Let me understand it's your mercy. First you purify, okay. I don't ask like that. I don't say you purify because I am not very confident that I'll be able to face that. But if somebody is very courageous enough to do that, pray, but then second prayer should be that, purify me. It happened with me just 10 days back. I bragged about myself that I do like this and I do like this. And that to the devotee, and the devotee was glorifying me. And subconsciously I just accepted it mine. And next day I was tested. Then I realized that this is what has happened. So ultimately whatever happens, Krishna reciprocates, right? So ultimately the subsequent chapters will bring us to that point where we realize the Lord within our heart, not only within our heart, we realize the Lord out also in the form of the wonderful Archa Vigraha and different aspects in our dealings with other devotees too. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Just 1 minute. Any comments? Any suggestions? Whatever. My dear brahmachari friends. Hare Krishna. Question coming for Sridhama Saka is very challenging. I'll answer if I can, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhuji, this story of Gopinath Patnaik is very powerful. But as devotees, we tend to just push it into the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita, whereas we could also be, materially well off. If you are materially well off, the tendency to, enjoy and while we may try to convince ourselves that I am using everything in Krishna's service, but in reality it is not like that. So how do we keep reminding ourselves that what wealth we have, what prosperity Krishna has given us, how do we remind ourselves and actually with the right consciousness use it in Krishna's service? Because you will be saving money, you will be having investments, whatever. So which is not being used, it is just there. So how do we practically use it in Krishna's service? What is the way to understand?
A part of our earning should be for Krishna's service or anything to help the mission. As Grahasthas, we are supposed to do that. Rup Goswami's principle is 50%, 25-25 for personal, 25 for family, and 50 for the Lord's service. But once I heard many years back, His Holiness Radha Swayam Maharaj mentions that you should give enough charity that it pains you. थोड़ा pinch होना चाहिए. So as Grahasthas, one thing Grahasthas should never, beg in front of others. Means he should be in that situation where he should not, that stage should not come that where he has to beg from others. In fact, he is supposed to give others, or he is supposed to protect the other 3 ashramas. But he should be in such position that he should not. But while he is there, he should have a very simple living, high thinking principle. You may be a rich person, but you may live simple. Somebody may be a pauper, he may live very, he may be having a high living. But Prabhupada's principle is simple living and high thinking. So understanding that, I have all this, but by the mercy of the Lord, I have so much. Right? I may lose it also. I may lose it within a fraction of a second. And that is what happened. One of my patients, multi-millionaire. Right now, he has only 1 flat in his place, in his house. Lost everything. He lost everything in just 6 months. Just 6 months. So anything can happen with us. So whether we are in that, we have earned. Number one, through this Gopinath Patnaika is that one thing we understand that don't use money which is not belong to us. That means, in other words, be very sincere, honest. If you are earning, also earn honestly, and don't try to use through cheating propensities, try to get that money. That is not yours, right? So through Gopinath Patnaik, we learned that he used this, he just siphoned with the money and then utilized that money also completely. So that should not be there. And if at all, if you earn the money as Grahasthas, we use it wisely. Whatever the status we want, of status society that we live, we just do it. But ultimately in our life, have that one principle that this doesn't belong to me. It may be used for Krishna's service whenever it's needed. So whenever someone is in need, or whenever this particular Lakshmi is needed, then we should be ready to help that also. We should be able to extend ourselves to help that person to, in whatever way possible, because Krishna has given that. And every moment of time, just try to remember such stories or such incidences which will make us understand that ultimately I need to be alert. I need to be alert not only on this principle, but anything. We are not talking about wealth. We can talk about position. We can talk about so many other things that where we may be tested, and we may forget our real aim of life. Ultimately, we remember one thing: at the time of leaving the body, are we going to take everything? वो एक क्या ना पूत सपूत क्यों संचय धन संचय पूत पूत क्यों means if a son is a nalaik, good for nothing, why should earn the money for him, save the money? And when the son is very nice, well off, why should save the money for him? Both ways. Obviously, that's said and done, but ultimately, what I feel from my side, that as Grahasthas, we need to serve the other three ashrams. We should be in that position where we can help others. At the same time, we have our family, the needs are there, so we also keep that. So some portion, one of our devotees, many of them, they have a contract with the Lord. They make the Lord Gopinath as their partners in their business. And say that, okay, if I earn this much, I give this much money. If I earn this much, my slab increases. I earn this much. So you should be honest on that. Once Giriraj Maharaj said, one person came in front of the Lord, he said, Lord, please, give me a lot of money and I will give half the money to you. And ultimately, within some few weeks, he became a very rich person. So when the time came to him to go to front of the Lord to give him his share, he said, Lord, you're so smart, you took away your share or what? Aisa karke. Means he said, Lord, you're so smart, you took away your share. In other words, he didn't want to give his share, the Lord's share. अगर एक एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूँ कि बोला मैं 50% आपको दे दूंगा, और उसने कहा, मैं बोलता आपने 50% पहले ले लिया क्या आपका, ऐसा करके. So he is telling the Lord that you already taken your 50%. So basically, if you are very sincere and honest, you just mentally make one sankalpa as a grahastha. Okay, I earn this much, so this much money surely will go for Krishna service and the mission service. This much will for family. And if you really make 3 times, 4 times, then you again make another sankalpa. Okay, maybe I'll do this much, I'll give this much. So this is what, as a businessman, they can do. Salaried people, they can just fix up a particular whatever their amount is there. But Maharaj said that no pain, no gain. It's like this. So no hard and fast rule for grahasthas, but understand one thing, that we are the one who are supporting the others. So we need to try to give best. But at the same time, it should not be like we give everything that our family is in anxiety. उसके लिए बहुत ज़्यादा डिटैचमेंट हो जाता है. There the family's consent is needed. Like Ramanacharya's, the stories are Andal. Just Kuresh. He and his wife just left everything and went away overnight. Those are the rare instances. But otherwise, you should be smart enough to. At least one thing is that earn your money honestly. And don't try to, encroach on somebody else's. And if at all, one very important thing one person said, this is what His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj said, that if a devotee is engaging in some business and if he's employing another devotee, if he's expecting X amount, he should be given X plus something amount. Because nobody should feel that he's being exploited or he's getting exploited. He should be given little more. Normally कैसा होता है अपना कि I want to exploit him because he's like this, but said you should give him little more because he is a devotee. So what he's expecting, you give little more. So the devotee is happy from that point of view. If you are into some business deals. Otherwise, just earn honestly your whatever is there, and in your capacity, you are the best judge. You decide what you can best serve in what way, and contribute. Hare Krishna. 10 minutes to 11. Hare Krishna. Karantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you very much for your patient listening.
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचार्य निर्विशेष शून्यादि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासुदेव गौर भक्तवृंद श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ